Yes. Welcome, everyone. Let me introduce Sonal to you all. So, Sonal is a holistic nutrition specialist with a lot of experience. She has written other books too, and she has done many specialized programs like, that nutrition. And her book is also nutrition for pregnant women, isn't it, Sonal?
Yes.
Yes. Then and she's a trained certified yoga Ayurveda nutrition specialist. So there are many other things to talk about her, but I think the most relevant is her holistic approach, because she's a trained yoga teacher, Ayurveda, and nutrition from various aspects. So now, without wasting any time, I'm just handing it over to Sonal.
Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
So here I'm seeing all my teachers as well. So really little nervous as well to talk in front of all my teachers here. So today the session is going to be very interactive, because that's how it's going to be interesting for all of us. So my book, this Ayurvedic Kitchen, is basically, the whole concept is about how our kitchen can be a clinic where we take care of our health, and it's with the principles, in congruence with the principles of Ayurveda. So there's a very famous proverb which says, Ayurvedic proverb, when the diet is wrong, medicine is of no use, and when the diet is right, medicine is not needed. Why? Because suppose there's a diabetic person and they're taking a lot of medicines, and if the diet is not right, then what happens? The doctor keeps increasing the medicine's dose. So it's very important that nutrition and diet has to be followed, even if you're on medication, and if you're in sync with nature, your doshas, your prakriti, then I think medicine is actually not needed. And our kitchen is our actual clinic, from where all the herbs and medicines are actually there. If we take care of that and incorporate that in our diet as per our constitution, then most of the illnesses will be cured on its own. जैसे पहले हमारे ग्रैंड मॉम्स एंड ऑल थोड़ा सा भी कुछ होता था, they would give us some काढ़ा, they would make, and we wouldn't rush to the doctor. But now everything, little bit of thing, we have to rush to the doctor, because we are forgetting that Ayurvedic wisdom that has always been there for ages now. So what is Ayurveda? Now I would like everybody to tell, maybe we can write it in the chat box or something, like, what do you think is Ayurveda according to you? So if it's a interactive and a participative session, then it becomes more fun. So please, everybody, like, answer, like, what according to you think is Ayurveda. I think nobody has any views. Okay, somebody has done the one which works with Ayur. Okay, and but what is Ayur like?
An alternative treatment.
Alternative treatment. Okay.
For any disease.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ayur,
yeah. Sorry.
Ayur means to increase the lifespan. The holistic.
Yeah, Ayu. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
That way, the holistic way of taking medicines.
Okay.
Whatever is available around us.
Right. So what is the weirdest thing that I've
science
heard,
of life, right?
like, about what is Ayurveda? What is the weirdest thing actually I heard was, like, Ayurveda is massage. So there are people who actually think it is like that. But Ayurveda, like one of you said, like, it's a treatment for disease and all. So Ayurveda has two aspects to it. One is the curative aspect, where we talk about the diseases, medical treatment, and use herbs and all for disease treatment. And other is the preventive aspect of Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is not just medicines, but it has a preventive aspect where it talks about lifestyle, how to conduct yourself, the dincharya, the ritucharya, and the ratri charya. So it has a regime of daily regime as well. So it talks about how to prevent those diseases, by being in sync with yourself. So that is what Ayurveda is about, not just about medicines, but how, like one of you said, that to increase lifespan and in a healthy way. And how to do it? By adopting a lifestyle which is in congruence with our nature. So Ayurveda talks about these 5 elements, and it is basically the crux of Ayurveda, the Panch Mahabhutas, which is the water, fire, earth, air, and space. And everything in the universe is born out of this and decomposes into this. And these 5 elements in various permutations and combinations form our 3 doshas. So, I'm talking about this too in front of my teachers who have already taught me this. So it is, but still, it is from my, like, this is not something that I have created. This is what Ayurveda talks about. So the 3 doshas are the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So when Vata is when element air and space, they mix together, they join together, they form the Vata Prakriti. Then there is water and fire. When they mix together, they form the Pitta Prakriti. And when water and earth, they are joined together, they form the Kapha Prakriti. So Vata, Pitta, Kapha are the 3 doshas, and they form the individual constitution in each of us, which is called the Prakriti. And this Prakriti is formed at the time of birth. So when a mother conceives a child, it is that time only that the Prakriti or the dosha of the main constitution of the child is decided, and it stays throughout the life. So this is very important concept of Ayurveda, based on which the whole further theories go, whether it's the season or the taste, everything is based on these 5 elements. I think my screen is froze. Okay. So now we'll, after this, let's first start with the myths and facts about. So you all have to reply. It has to be very interactive. So the first is Ayurveda propagates a vegetarian only. So what is your take on that? Is it a fact or a myth? What do you think?
It's a myth.
It's a myth. Fact. Okay. Alpana ji is saying it's a fact. Anybody else who feels that it's a fact?
I think there are some references of taking meat in different forms like this in Ayurveda itself. That's what I heard. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to elaborate on that, Sanjana. Like you said, I've actually read some translations of ancient scriptures where Ayurveda does not anywhere actually say that you have to be vegetarian. Now, mind you, this is probably, I don't know, 10th hand or 20th hand or whatever. And that the concept of vegetarianism spread in India or in the Indian subcontinent with the advent of more with Jainism and Buddhism. So I don't know, but that is one theory.
Okay, so basically this is not a fact that Ayurveda propagates a vegetarian only diet. It's actually a myth, because Ayurveda says, vegetarianism, or, what was adopted was because those who wanted to attain higher spiritual learning and consciousness. So they used to follow a very sattvic and a yogic diet. So there it is obviously, it said that no, vegetarianism is only the thing. But Ayurvedic text has a lot of information about meat. In fact, there's also mention about horse meat also, because those days, like, meat was consumed, and it has extensively talked about meat. But it is not that it propagates that you have to, but even if you're having what kind, how to process it, what kind of meat you should have. So that is what. But because today what is happening is the food that we are getting, because of all the environmental aspects and everything, the impact that is having, and the hormones that are injected on all these food and all. So meat, chicken, and everything. That is why it is we are saying, okay, vegetarian is better for all of us from the health point of view. And another aspect why today we feel that we should go vegetarian is because of the digestion part. People are not able to digest that kind of a heavy diet these days, and that is another reason. But Ayurveda itself, you say, though it's a vegetarian philosophy, no, it is not a vegetarian philosophy. It talks about even non-vegetarian foods as well. So it's a myth actually. And second one, Ayurveda says have only traditional Indian foods. So what do you think? It's a myth or a fact? Like what it is? Does it mean if you're an Ayurvedic diet, following a diet Ayurvedic way, is it like you have to have only desi khana, or you can have? So it's a myth.
I'm sorry, but I think I don't remember it in Sanskrit, but in English, translated again, there is this phrase: "Eat foods processed by nature, not processed by human beings." So that is the crux, I think, of
Yes.
Whatever, one of the
Yes,
scriptures.
you're absolutely right when you're saying that it has to be processed. But does it mean eating only
And
Indian
it doesn't
food?
refer to only Indian food or
Yes,
any. No,
exactly.
specifically.
Yeah, so it's
By
a myth.
definition.
Yes, exactly. It's a myth that that is why my book Ayurvedic Kitchen, when we talk about, there's so many global ingredients that have been included in it, because it has to be local, seasonal, and it doesn't have to be only Indian diet, like if you're following an Ayurvedic lifestyle. Okay. Another point is banana milkshake is very healthy. How many of you think that banana milkshake is very healthy? Is it healthy? It's a fact or no? False. So everybody think it's false. Can I ask
think,
why?
it's a mucus producing food if we take in that combination. So for particular people, it is not advisable, but it's again mixed views.
Yes.
If
Yes.
it is sweet fruit with milk is fine, that's what I heard. And sour fruit with milk is a bad combination.
No, actually,
But Sonal, can I just interrupt Aarti here? In our Maharashtrian culture, we have been having shikran, that is banana and milk, for years together as in our meal. So again, it's a confusion whether it is a myth or a fact.
Yeah. So Ayurveda says, it's like, it talks like food combination, gives a lot of importance to food combinations. So if your combination of food is not correct, it will lead to buildup of toxins. That is called ama. It is called at the cellular level. So, but we say, okay, I drink banana milkshake every day. Nothing happens to me. I'm absolutely fine, So maybe the person's digestive fire is really Agni, which is the digestive fire is really good. They get away with it. But if you look at the principles point of view from Ayurveda, any fruit with milk is contraindicated. We have been having amras like for ages, It's not like how you told Aarti ma'am about the banana, that Maharashtrian sweet dish. So it is there in the traditional foods. But if you look at from the Ayurvedic perspective, it is said that, it is not advisable to have milk and fruit in a combination, whether it's a sweet or a sour food. So in fact, it's said that fruit should always be eaten alone. And even the juices, fruit juices are also not actually advisable. Only in cases of like if somebody is debilitated or sick, or on those conditions who can't eat anything, only then. And even scientifically we say, okay, fruit juice nahi peena hai, because what happens, it gives an insulin spike. The sugar that is consumed, it just gives an insulin spike in our blood level. So it is actually not advisable to have either fruit juices or fruits with milk. And so there is this, see, if you're able to get away with it, it's okay. But from Ayurvedic perspective, it is like it is totally contraindicated to have any fruit with milk. And fruit should be always eaten in isolation so that the nutrients are well absorbed and digested in the body. And some people, in fact, they have fruits after their meals. Many people, they have a habit, they'll finish their meal and then they will eat a fruit. Again, that leads to fermentation in the body. So which is again not advisable at all, even from scientific nutritional aspect as well, and from Ayurvedic. Sayugita ma'am has raised her hand. I didn't
Yeah.
understand.
Yes. Sonal, many people talk about mixing the fruits. Okay, that
Yes,
is also, it seems
yes,
not
yes.
good.
That is also contraindicated. Mixing sweet fruits together is still okay if you're having a date with a banana, because both are sweet. But banana and an orange, it is again not allowed in Ayurveda. So
Okay.
So might as well eat a fruit on its own, a single fruit at one time, and that fruit chart and all, everything is like, so people who really relish on those, they'll say, okay, it's a little
Okay.
difficult to do that. But I don't think it's like, if you really want to absorb all the, see, what Ayurveda, it's not just कि हम लोग क्या खा रहे हैं, but हम what we're able to digest also, that is also important in Ayurveda. So it gives a lot of importance to that what we are able to digest as well. So that is why it is very important that, the food that we eat, the nutrients are absorbed totally.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
Sayugita
Yeah.
ma'am also wanted to ask something, I think.
Yeah, it was the same question. Also,
Okay.
is it okay to have fruits with dahi?
No, fruits only in isolation.
Okay, so
So there'll be more myths and facts that will be busted. So when
okay.
you'll come again in the next, you'll understand. But again, because fruits, what happened, even the digestive time for fruits, they are very easily digested. And what happened with milk and curd is they take longer to digest. And that is why it takes, it is contraindicated that you're not supposed to have them together.
Got it. Thank you.
Sanjana ma'am wants to ask something.
I think it's again, food should be eaten alone. So
Yes.
cooked fruit is also not a good habit. Like cooking.
No, actually in Ayurveda, they don't say that cooked fruit is not allowed. So, a stewed apple or a pear is actually TriDoshic, we say. So, steaming or, like for a cooked pear, so it is allowed. It is not that is not allowed. Again, what happens with cooking is that काफी सारे nutrients, we lose some of the nutrients of the fruit. So, it is best to have, like as it is, but some people like even in my practice, I've realized some people, they say, I'm not, if I eat apple, I feel very gaseous. So, early morning, empty stomach, if I'm eating an apple, it gives me a lot of gas. So, but if you steam it, if you have a stewed apple, then with little herbs on it, like maybe a little clove powder or something, cinnamon, then they don't feel that same thing. So sometimes steaming suits some people, some of the patient, depending on their digestive capacity, actually. So, but steamed fruits are not contraindicated in Ayurveda. Even that is why dried fruits, we soak it, like raisins and all are soaked, and so when you dry it, we're in a way cooking it, like we are dehydrating it totally. So it is not contraindicated in Ayurveda. Okay, and so we go to the fourth fact or myth, whatever you think it is. Raw foods are good for everyone. So what does everyone think about it? Is it a myth or it's a fact?
Myth.
Myth.
Myth. So everybody agrees on that. Okay, yes, because raw foods are harder to digest. So that is why, and especially a Vata person should avoid raw foods, because it will create more, it imbalance the Vata in them. So raw foods generally, see, this is the beauty when you know about it. There's so much talk about, veganism and all that. Everybody saying they have raw food, you'll get all the nutrients and everything. But if you understand, okay, your dosha is Vata type, and then you realize, okay, that is why when I eat this, I don't feel good with myself, after eating this, though it must be maybe the healthiest food on earth, on the planet. So that is why it is important you understand your constitution. And when we do the quiz further, you'll understand how you can find out what your constitution is. So Yogita ma'am has raised her hand. She wants to ask something.
She's forgotten to lower it. So it's okay. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, add honey instead of sugar to your hot beverage. So is it a better option to add honey
That's a
instead of
big
sugar to your
no-no,
hot
right?
beverage?
That's a very big no-no.
So
It can be lukewarm maximum, but never hot.
yes, who is saying that? Actually, I'm not seeing the
It's
person.
Ujjwala.
Ujjwala,
Sorry,
okay,
I
yeah.
identify as you.
Anybody
on Zoom.
thinks it's a good option, idea to add honey instead of sugar? So we all agree with it that bad option, yeah. So because honey is becomes toxic when heated. So people, they just think that okay, if we add, again, this is about processing of the food, the satmya of the food in Ayurveda that they talk about, the how the food is processed also becomes very important thing. So processing is like when you're heating the honey itself is very good for health, but when you're heating it or you're adding to a very hot beverage, then it becomes toxic. It blocks all the strotas of the our body. So that is why you should never add honey to a hot beverage. It can be lukewarm, like Ujjwala said, and obviously honey is a better option than sugar, but it should never be to a hot beverage or never directly heated as well. And honey should not also be mixed with ghee in equal quantity. If that is also done, it becomes a viruddha ahar. So with honey, you always have it raw, unfiltered. That is the best way to have honey. So everybody should do a 12-hour intermittent fasting. So what does everybody think about it?
Yeah. So that on the honey point,
Yeah.
like usually many people are advised to take hot water, like lemon in the morning, right? Lemon and hot water, and then it's a very common thing to add honey to it.
Yes,
So,
that is why I put this point, because people, they do it without realizing that it is actually harming them than benefiting them. So when the water is lemon water becomes the lukewarm water, they can add. But if they're taking hot water like tea, like hot lemon tea, and then they add, then it becomes toxic for the system. So it is not, they should never add honey to a very hot beverage at all. So the next one is everybody should do 12-hour intermittent fasting. So what is everybody's take on that? Yes, no, do you agree? So every shaking their head, so they don't believe that we should fast at all.
Fasting is different.
Fasting is good.
Fasting is good because that itself helps the engine of the body to reset, just like a car engine, etc. But whether somebody should do this rigid 12-hour intermittent fasting, I think it depends on constituency to it depends on how the body takes it. Some people might actually end up being very gassy or something, for example, but that's just one example. So it just depends.
Yes. So I think it depends on person to person is actually the right. Again, depends on the constitution of the person. That is the prakriti of the person, whether how long a person should fast. Fasting is very therapeutic. What it does, it resets and renegotiates our relationship with food. It gives us the digestive rest. It helps in even building our immunity and also release all toxins of the system, because that when we are not if suppose there's a car and we keep filling petrol in it, even if it's full, then what happens? The engine stops. So our body is like that car, and because the availability of food is so much these days that we are eating every time, even when we are not hungry, because food is available to us, it's in front of us, and we feel okay, so we have to eat it. But that is what Ayurveda tells, that it's very important that it's not that if you're like because of the headache part only that you should keep eating all the time, but it according to your prakriti. Fasting is very therapeutic when done in a proper way. But if you're doing zero fasting, Ayurveda does not actually propagate, because it says that it dampens your digestive fire. So if it has to be done zero fasting, also you have to do it with a consultant who is actually understands about your body and everything. But intermittent fasting, if you're a vata person, then you can't fast like more than 4 hours or some. Your eating window should not be like it should be only 4 hours fasting or something like that. If you're a pitta person, then your eating window should be around 8 hours. And if you're a kapha person, then your eating window should be around 4 to 6 hours. So it depends again on your prakriti. And you will see if your prakriti is a vata type, you won't be able to fast. You'll get all these kind of headaches and all these kind of health issues. But if you're a kapha prakriti, you'll say, yeah, I can go without food for a long time. So that is how it has to be decided. Just because, you know, it's all the celebrities are endorsing today that, you know, fasting is the new thing, it insulin resistance, and it helps you get rid of all the health issue diseases and all. So it should not be blindfoldedly followed. But fasting is definitely therapeutic, and it has to be done in accordance to your prakriti.
Sonal, yes, there is a question, I think. Akshata, you can go on.
Hi, Sonal.
Yeah.
I'm a practicing doctor, homeopath. So actually, my experience, I just wanted to share that 12 hours fasting, as you said, it does not apply to everyone because everyone's constitution is different. So I have seen in my practice that people with migraine, history of migraines, retrosternal burning, acidity and all, they can't do it 12-hour fasting. And especially patients who are diabetics. So diabetics I have many patients who need to get up at 1 o'clock at night and eat. So I think there are exceptions. Like if you are prone to acidities, migraines, headaches, I think they need to eat every 3 hours. Or maybe again it depends on your metabolism rate. Some people, if they don't eat when they are hungry, it results into headache.
So actually, you know what, Dr. Akshata, the fasting is not meant for pregnant and, you know, people who have these kind of, suppose somebody with ulcerative colitis and all these kind of issues. So then if you have a special condition, if you're pregnant, I would never say, you know, nobody would say you fast, right? So it is, those exceptions are always there for all the rules. Like how you said, you know, like banana milkshake, हम लोग तो खाते हैं, कुछ नहीं होता है. So because maybe the digestive fire is too good, but I have seen people who really feel worse on banana milkshake as well. So it is not like, you know, there are always exceptions, and fasting, that is why, is not for everyone. We can't say everyone should fast. That was the whole point. So there are people, certain group of people, and like how you said, like even this 12 hours fasting is not meant for pitta. So people with a lot of acidity and all these kind of issues, so if they do a 12 hour fast, they'll feel more acidic and all, because pitta person should not fast more than 8 hours. So that is why when we have this knowledge now, then what happens is that we can tweak and make adjustments, because we know this person is a vata kind of a person or pitta kind of a, they won't be able to tolerate only such. Or if there are some health conditions, then it becomes a totally different issue for fasting. Okay, now we have already spoken about this. Fruit juice is very healthy, so I think this is clear. Like fruit juice is not advisable only unless until you're very weak or you're not able to eat anything, and so you need those many calories. Or otherwise, when people, this orange season, so they start drinking a lot of 3-4 orange juices. Even diabetics they do that. They think, oh, fruit is so healthy, let me drink juice, who can't piega. And what happened, fruits are ultimately carbohydrates also. So जब हम लोग वो पीते हैं, तो वो जो salivary enzymes होता है, that also we miss out, वो जो digestion के लिए help करता है. So it is very important that we eat our fruits and not drink it. Okay, artificial sweeteners are better than sugar. So what everybody thinks about it, like all this. So everybody's shaking their head, so I don't need to. So everybody knows, yeah, because they actually increase risk of certain diseases. We think, okay, but somewhere stevia leaves, which is very not the bleached or the powdered form of stevia, but leaves, if you boil it and you use it, because it's in its natural form, then it becomes healthier option. But it is not artificial sweeteners become like all this equal and this sugar free, those things, and they create a lot of create even cancers. Research has said that they are not at all advisable. Even Alzheimer's and those kind of neurological disorders happen because of these. And diabetes, they think, okay, we are not having, we should not be eating sugar, but we can have this. So this is again not really a good option to have. Yes, Sujata ma'am.
Sorry.
So what is your take on jaggery?
Yes, jaggery is again, jaggery is a healthier form, obviously, but it depends. The quantity, the moderation has to be. Just because jaggery is healthy, it should not be like, okay, so we can eat as much as we want. Ultimately, it is also sugar, but it is much better than the processed white sugar that we have, or the brown sugar also is just not really very good option which people opt for. So jaggery is good, honey is good, and dates, dates, if we just make a puree of the dates. So these are in natural forms. Anything that is lesser processed and in the natural form is always the better option.
Yeah. So Sonal, on that note, replacing sugar with jaggery whenever you have to make anything sweet, like for example in Maharashtra again we make shira, right?
Yes.
So replacing sugar with jaggery, quantity, yes, I did understand it has to be moderated, but still, do you think it's a way better option, or
Yes.
is it okay, just about like?
No, it's a way better option because jaggery has iron, magnesium, other nutrients as well. And one thing it should not be treated with sulfur. Nowadays the jaggery that we get are treated with sulfur. So we should try to get, from stores that give us good. And even in Kolkata here, we get this Nolen good, which is the new good, which is actually taste wise, even if you add it to your kheer, you will not feel that you're not eating sugar. And it is in such a pure form. So the right source also, we should try to source our products also from a trusted person and all that. So
and please repeat the name of the jaggery, because I have eaten it and it's too good. I forgot the name.
Nolen good. It's called Nolen good.
Nolen. Okay.
Yeah. Ujjwala,
Thanks,
you
yeah.
want to ask something?
Yes. So going a step beyond jaggery, as you know, the market is flooded with alternatives. What's your view on coconut sugar that we get, which is a knockoff of what our great grandparents, I mean, especially if you're from the Konkan area, they've been having that through a while in a different form. So coconut jaggery, and then there's another jaggery, it's called palm jaggery.
Palm jaggery.
There's another Indian word for it.
Yes.
Has a lot of B12.
Yes, palm jaggery I would suggest, because even palm sugar is, again, palm jaggery, palm sugar has a lot of B12 in that. So it's a good option. Yes.
And then here in the US, they have monk fruit.
Monk fruit, yes. Yes.
And of course, so any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, if you ask me, monk fruit it's okay to consume, okay, but the better option would be, to have the
sugar. I'm talking about
monk
fruit.
sugar. Yeah, monk sugar. It's made from the monk fruit, right? The sugar. So
yes,
it's okay to consume, but jaggery, dates, coconut sugar, agave, and also even maple syrup, these are the better options, I would say, than because the processing of the monk sugar is a little more. So what we are trying to do is, the lesser the processed food, the better it is. We are much more closer to the nature. So that is my take on that. It's just because it's what happens in India, especially, we have a very fancy, this is the new thing, like stevia. When it came, everybody wanted to have stevia, so, but it was the white powder stevia was so much chemically bleached and used. Though stevia in its leaf form is really good, but it's not at all a good option to have that powdered and the bleached form. So the lesser the processed part is better for consumption.
Thanks.
So does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So one more question, Sonal. It's about khansari sugar. I don't know whether you know the word, but it is like, I think it's raw sugar. Is that right, Alpana?
You're talking about khari shakkar?
No. Khansari is raw sugar.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of brown in color, but I don't think it's exactly the brown sugar that is available in the market.
I think you're talking about the khand, like from jaggery, say, next step to jaggery is that sugar.
Yeah.
And then the white sugar, right?
Yeah, it's a step before. There's another name, we call it kakvi.
Kakvi is liquid, Ujjwala. Kakvi is liquid. This khansari sugar is not brown one. It is before, before.
Yes.
It's one step before the white sugar is made, is what my knowledge. I don't know much about it.
Yes, ma'am, you're right, actually. And so that is the whole point, more the processing happens, we should try to, the lesser the processing of the food is there, it's better for us. So even if you look at from the caloric point of view, obviously they'll have the same calories and they'll have, but again the nutrients are leached out of it. Jo good mein rahega, jaggery mein rahega, that won't be there, khansari. But what happens, good can be little heating and khansari becomes little cooling. So many of them, in hot climate and all, we don't use jaggery, and then we use this. So we also have to take care of the climate and that season also, and then we consume. But obviously sugar, again, it has to be in the, like moderation, and not doing anything in excess is obviously not a good idea. So I was this khand, we call it here khand, this khansari that you're saying. It's a little yellowish in color.
True, that's what it is. Yes, yeah. So Alpana, you're okay with it? The answer, you got it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Everyone should eat after every 2 hours. Now, what is it? Everybody think? No. Now, okay. Yes. So again, it is not like every 2 hours, but it depends on your body type, your health condition, and then we decide like how you should have, like how many times a day you should have your meals. Then you should take a short walk after your meal. What does everybody think about it? So Sheila ma'am is giving a thumbs up to it. So anybody has any view on this? Good idea.
Shatapauli, right? I'll remember that from one of our TTC lessons. That's Sayogita. I remember Sayogita. I mean, every time after I eat, I remember her talking about that. Light walking is okay.
Yes,
but
light walking, but not strenuous exercises. So what happens, it helps in digestion process. Light walking for 5-10 minutes is a good idea after your meals. Okay. If I exercise more, I'll lose more weight. How many of us think? I think nobody would think that. Yeah, so this is a total myth that if I exercise more, I lose more weight. And diet foods are healthier options. Now, how many of us think this is true? So okay, so why do you think diet foods are not good? They don't have fats in them, no sugar, no fat. Then why do you think it's not a good idea to have diet foods?
More processed also.
Sorry, ma'am?
More processed to make
Yes.
it like that diet thing. Secondly, I think they're not natural also many times.
No, but now suppose they have a khakra, it's a diet khakra, then it's natural, like how we make it.
But it's so much processed. Khakra is so much of processing, and plus it's not fresh, right?
Yeah. So actually the main problem with diet foods, though they don't have sugar and fat, but sodium is the main, because they have to make it very tasty, otherwise nobody's going to buy them. So they add a lot of sodium to it, and that is why it becomes very bad for the system. So it's not a healthier option. So it's better to just pick up a fistful of nuts or something instead of buying just something which is called diet food. And if you really want to, I always tell my clients also that if you really want to eat something, if you want to have a piece of cake, have the best. Don't think like I'll have something a healthier option and you eat more, because when we think that it's a healthier food or it's a diet food, we tend to eat also more. So again, that psychological thing is also there. So if you want to eat for your soul, for satisfaction of yourself, then eat the best. But just because of diet and it's saying it's diet food and it is like less in calories or it's sugar free, and then you eat more of it and you end up getting sick actually. So that should be avoided. So here we are over the myths and facts. Now, so this concept of digestify I wanted to highlight about Ayurveda. So Ayurveda says you're not just what you eat, but what you digest and assimilate. So even in my practice, I've seen, people, when they tell me, when I take a diet recall that what is their daily diet and all, I've realized that they are not eating unhealthy food, but still they end up having so many issues because the food they think, okay, I like how we said salads are healthy, definitely, right? So, but they're not able to digest it and assimilate. So digestive fire, Ayurveda has given a lot of importance to this fire. So fire, there's digestion happens at various levels in our body, whether it's the gross level or the tissue level or the cellular level, and that's how the absorption of all the nutrients take place. So when our digestive fire is good, then we get away with eating a lot of things. But if it is in a bad state, then we end up with a lot of ama, that is the toxins built up in our system. So what should we do to improve our digestive fire? So there are a few tips that I would like to share. So eating a piece of ginger with your meals, like, or before your meals, like you start your meal with a piece of ginger, 1 inch of ginger, chew it properly, and then you start your meal. It helps in that. And there is actually a recipe of digestive aid in my book, which everybody can have. It contains all the 5 tastes. When Ayurveda talks about sweet, sour, salty, pungent, astringent, bitter, so our meals should contain all these 5 tastes. It's say or 6 tastes. Ayurveda talks, if our plate is there, and if you look at our palek, a traditional thali, so they would have some dal, then they would have some sweet also always there in the plate. There's some leafy vegetables for that bitter thing. It used to be a complete meal. Now what has happened in today's time, we are just thinking of food in the context of protein, carbs, and fats. We're not thinking in the form of taste, like whether our plate is incorporating our meal as incorporating all the 6 tastes and all. So that is why it is important to rekindle the digestive fire. We should have all the 6 tastes in one meal at least. Whether, so we can start with little ginger, we can, after our meal we should have a buttermilk chach, again that will improve the digestive fire. Then not to drink glass of water after the milk, like people, they have the habit of drinking water. Even in nutrition science we talk that they dilute the digestive enzymes of our body. So it is not a good thing to drink a lot of water. You can have sips of water because if your food is dry, and also keep your food little unctuous. Like there should be some healthy fat, and like a little bit gravy, not very dry food, because then again that gives lots of stress on our digestion. And even the portion of the food is very important. If you see, when we eat a lot of heavy meal and we stuff ourselves, we just can't move, because the body needs that all the energy to digest that food. So even the portion control helps in keeping the digestive fire at the optimum level. So doing these simple things, which we already know, but we don't really care about it. So again, reinforcing all these things to having a piece of ginger. And those with acidity or gastric issues, after when they eat and they start feeling bloated, if they have a piece of good jaggery, or fennel seeds with cardamom or cardamom tea, these 3 things really help with their bloating issue. They will just not feel bloated. And a lot of my cancer patients also, when they go post like chemotherapy and all, they have a lot of these bloating and gastric issues. So I always advise them to have cardamom or fennel tea, or even if they don't want to have the tea, they can just have fennel, chew fennel or jaggery, and it really helps in that. So keeping your digestive fire, and also mentally, we should always have the food very calmly. Again, because mindful eating is another very important aspect of it. We are always in a rush watching TV or mobile or laptop, so that again dampens the digestive fire, because there's a connection between our gut and brain axis. We all know about it now. So having mindfully eating, and again eating in an environment which is not like not very agitated environment. If you're eating, then you actually digest your food well. So these are the very important things that we need to take care of. So now we can think of the dosha quiz. So I'll need everyone take a paper and a pen.
Can I ask you a quick question about the digestive fire?
Yeah, sure.
So in your in the previous slide, you had shown the water element, the fire, and the earth. And earlier you had said pitta is a combination of the water and fire.
Can you speak a little louder, Ujjwala? I don't know.
Oh, you can't hear me? Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in brief, if somebody already has high fire, like a Pitta dosha person, for example, then would you still have, I mean, you still think it's good to start with ginger?
So, okay.
And then in summer also, that was another
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I was just
So,
curious.
Yeah, sure. So it's a good question, actually. What you asked, Ujjwala, is, digestive fire, when I'm talking about, is an imbalance. So it can be low, it can be high. Okay. So if whatever imbalance it has, if it is too much, then it will create issues like acidity and ulcers and all those kind of thing that you talk. So it has to be in the optimum level. So if you're a person who gets, starting with a ginger is not a bad idea, because it's not like we are taking lots of quantity of it. It's just 1 inch. 1 inch is really small, and when we end our meal with a buttermilk, it is actually cooling for the system. So it is not like it will be a bad idea to start with your meal with a little ginger before meal. It will just stimulate it. It will not, aggravate it. So that is the point. So, and if suppose you're a really pitta person, then I would suggest you have, like, fennel after your meals, because that is again very cooling, fennel tea. So that is how like, okay, and it is again very individualistic. You might see, okay, this person is able to tolerate ginger well, but I have seen in my practice that ginger is well tolerated by everybody. It's not like somebody is not able to, they say we got mouth ulcers or something like that with ginger, because it's just before your meal, just 1 inch of it. So it does not cause any problem as such. I have not seen it, but if you feel that it's not going to suit you because because you've tried it and it doesn't work for you, then it's again everybody's body individualistic, capacity is the thing. But I have not seen that ginger doesn't suit anyone like that, because it's very small quantity as such. But
I love it. I love ginger in my tea and everything. I love all
yes,
that. But I was just
exactly.
curious, if
Yes.
that's about fire, then wouldn't it be too much fire? That's all. So
Yeah, I got your
academic.
point. Yeah, I got it. So it's going to balance it. It's not going to aggravate it. The whole point is that, yeah. If it's low, it makes it balance. If it's high, it again calms it down. It doesn't aggravate it. So this dosha quiz, which we are going to do, you have to rate the question. There's
Sonal,
three
just
sections.
one. Sonal,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just one more question. When we were on the buttermilk, and so like there is a lot of controversy about curd or buttermilk. Secondly, morning and evening. So
Morning and evening, what?
like for lunch you should have curd or buttermilk, or for dinner you should have curd or buttermilk. And first of all, curd versus buttermilk.
Okay. So buttermilk is Ayurveda. What Ayurveda says is kapha creates curd creates a lot of kapha in the system, whereas buttermilk is this TriDosha. It balances the doshas. So if you are having a kapha issue or you're a kapha person, then curd you should not you should opt for buttermilk more than curd. And even if you're having curd, then you add a lot of cumin powder. That is why we have this tradition of adding cumin powder, so that uska jo kapha ka that quality na, it dampens it down, so it doesn't create kapha in the system. So it's an antidote to that thing. So buttermilk is always the healthier option. And secondly, morning, evening, according to Ayurveda, curd should be avoided at night. Though people are taking it, so but Ayurveda says you should avoid it at night. The best time is during the day only. That is on the milk and the curd.
Also, just to add, out of personal experience, I found in our very cold weather winter months, it's better to avoid yogurt, just like the night time.
Ma'am, buttermilk can be taken at night?
No, according to Ayurveda, it is contraindicated. It should be avoided at night. Buttermilk also and curd also. During day is the best time to have both of it. Rate yourself for the question. So this dosha quiz, we'll now find out what is our dosha. So there'll be questions. There are 3 sections. So please make 3 columns for it, A, B, C. And for each question, if it doesn't work at all for you, not at all, then it is 1. If somewhat you think that, it is, yes, I'm like that, then 2. And very much, if it's like totally you, then it's 3. So you have to give points to each question. So we start with the first group. So this is the group A. So I just have to. So first question is, you have always been able to grasp things in memory smoothly and quickly, but don't often retain them for long. So if you think this is totally you, then it's 3, but somewhat it is like that, then 2. And if it is not at all, it is 1 point. You learn easily and you forget also easily. Then number 2 is, under stress, you tend to worry and become anxious. Number 3, you have quick reflexes or think and act quickly, but have difficulty in making decisions. You have low tolerance for cold weather. You're thin and rarely gain weight. Your meal and sleep schedule tends to vary from day to day. So some days you're able to sleep well at your regular time, some days you don't. Your mood changes easily and tends to be sensitive and somewhat emotional. You speak quickly and are a lively communicator, and you change topics easily and have a lot to say. You usually have cold hands and feet. Your hair is dry with split ends. Maybe split ends, maybe they're not be there, but you have a lot of dry hair. You tend to have difficulty in falling asleep, but awake easily. Your digestion is sporadic with frequent gas or bloating. You eat quickly and often finish your meals before others at the table. You are an enthusiastic and interested person and have a quick and light walk. You have an active, imaginative mind and a tendency towards restlessness. So if everybody has finished, then can you please add the total for this? So this column, these are the questions. So I'll just wait for 1 minute so that everybody can add total the group A. So can we go to group B now? Yeah. Somebody can please write in the chat if you can go move to group B.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, so group B is, so this you need to write the points separately again so that group A total was different. Now group B. You become difficult to deal with when under pressure. You are strong-willed. The third is you are a perfectionist, organized, efficient, and pay close attention to details. You are a critical thinker and a good debater. You tend towards anger and irritability, even though you may not always show it. You perspire easily and have more body odor than others. You have a strong appetite and metabolism and cannot skip meals. You have sensitive skin that sunburns, breaks out easily, or reacts to random things. You lose your temper easily, then quickly forget about it as well. You easily get heartburn and indigestion, especially if you do not eat at the same time each day. You like to nap and need more than 6 hours of sleep at night, or you feel restless. You enjoy challenges and have strong determination. You often have more than one bowel movement a day. You tend to be critical of yourself and others. So these are again 14 points. You need to add up again all these 14 points that you have marked yourself with. So now we can move to group 3. Can we do that? Okay. So now group C. First one is you're a slow eater. It takes a lot to get you angry, but when you get angry, you're a grudge holder. You have thick, dark, and wavy hair. You often get chronic sinus congestion, asthma, or excessive phlegm. You are slow-paced, patient, and laid back. You're a good listener and speak only when you feel you have something important to say. You have a slow metabolism, feel heavy after eating, and can skip meals. You're consistent in energy, endurance, and mood. You sleep long and deeply and have a difficult time getting started in the morning. You have an aversion to cool, damp, and cloudy climates. Your skin is usually soft and smooth. You have a calm disposition, which makes you able to keep your head in difficult situations. You gain weight more easily than others and have difficulty losing it. You have a better long-term memory. So these are the points for group C, and please add all that. So now, like, if anybody can say what they've scored in each group, then I can explain how this tells you about your dosha.
Ma'am, 27, 30, and 12.
Yeah, so 12. So group A is Vata, group B is Pitta, and group C is Kapha. So 12 Kapha. So you're not at all a Kapha person. You're a Pitta person, and your secondary dosha is Vata. So basically, you are a Pitta. Your constitution is Pitta. So that's how we decide what is your dosha type. And you could also make sense with all this was matching, right? And some amount of dosha is there in each of us, but the predominant dosha is what makes your basic constitution or the prakriti. And if your scores are very close to each other, like, it can be in one group, in the Vata group, it can be 27, or in the Pitta group, it can be 28, 29, then it is like you're a Vat-Pit person.
So I have, this is crazy, 32, 31, 31.
So you are a Tridoshic person.
I can eat ginger. I'm kidding. Tridoshic means we have
so
to
all the
avoid-
three doshas are dominant. There's not one. So it's a Tridoshic constitution, basically. So there are, the constitution can be Vata alone, Pitta alone, Prakriti, that is the Vata alone, Pitta alone, Kapha, then Vat Pit, Vat Kaf, Pit Kaf, and the other one is Tridoshic. So you're the Tridoshic one. So these are the 7 constitutions that we have.
And I assume there are do's and don'ts, right? If I remember.
Yeah, no. So do's and don'ts. Yeah. So it's for, like, what happens is for Vat, Pit, Kaf, there are certain do's and don'ts for like each constitution. So at that time, if what is your Vikriti, that is the present state, that will tell you, what you should be doing it, how you should balance it, because you're a Tridoshic person. That's how it's going to be. So anybody else want to share what are their scores? And now everybody knows what they are. What is
Yeah, shared it in the
34.
chat.
Sorry, I was saying I'm 34, 23, 24.
Yeah, so you're a Vata person.
But the other two are also pretty much same.
So, but your dominant one is Vata, right? So that is why now your Prakriti is Vata. Group B slide. Okay, Dr. Akshata wants to see the group B slide. So is it clear, like everybody is understood or not really? Like, at least you know what is your Prakriti now. That is how it is decided. What is your Prakriti? And based on that, we give certain regimes and all which needs to be followed.
Yeah, so then Sanjana was asking what is the score for a balanced Prakriti?
So it's like how Ujjwala ma'am's score was like 31, 30, 31. So this is the balanced one. So it is not like, it's very close to each other. So that means it is a Tridoshic thing. So it is not like, and also age also, ma'am. See, this becomes a Prakriti which we are born with. But then because of season or age, so when somebody who's in postmenopausal age might be having a Vata Vikriti, that is why Vikriti concept is there. And when that person is suffering from, suppose, pains, so it's a Vata disease, then we say, okay, you need to balance your Vata that time, but your Prakriti can be, when, like, it can be a Kapha Prakriti as well. So Vikriti is the acute phase. which needs to be treated then. So based on the condition, and I suppose it's a yes, Sanjana ma'am wants to ask something.
Yeah. So if my score is 31, 31, 28, so my Prakriti is Vata Pitta or
Yes.
yeah, so
Vata.
it's a combination of Vata and Pitta.
Pitta,
The
yes.
Prakriti.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think everybody's understood, or is there any confusion regarding the doshas?
So this score means this questionnaire is to identify our Prakriti,
Yes.
not the present imbalanced state of doshas, right?
No. Yeah. So this is your nature. So when you say the basic nature doesn't changes. Suppose you're having a cold and a cough, that means that kapha has increased in you. You may be a vata person, but then we need to avoid foods that increases kapha. So that is how it is. So, but when we follow a daily routine, daily regime, dietary regime, then it has to be according to a prakriti. So, so what happens if there are imbalances in the doshas? So if there are vata dosha, there's an imbalance in your vata, then you'll have hair loss, digestive issues, muscle spasm, pains and all that, dry and rough skin, cold sensitivity, insomnia, anxiety, restlessness. If pitta is aggravated, then like heartburn or acidity, excessive thirst or hunger, skin rashes, so everything heat related, acne, sensitivity to heat, nausea, anger, irritability. So Ayurveda, it's a very beautiful science because what it talks about the mental aspect along with the physical aspect. It is never like, everything that is having physically will also have a mental aspect to it also. Like a pitta imbalance will create a lot of anger and irritability. So in nutrition science, we don't learn about that part, how the food is going to impact your mind. So that is why we say that Ayurveda is such a beautiful science. It also tells you how it impacts your mind. Then kapha will have, if there's an imbalance in the kapha, it will lead to water retention, lethargy, lack of appetite, nausea, congestion, like cold, cough and all that, excessive sleep, narcolepsy, like during the day also you're sleeping a lot, depression. So these are kapha imbalances. So now what is a vata pacifying lifestyle? So if you are a vata person, then what kind of a diet you should have, what kind of a regime you should have, so that your vata is in balance. So vata pacifying diet, diet should include sweet, salty and sour tasting foods. And they should avoid like spicy, bitter, astringent foods. They put vata off balance. So your diet should always include foods which are sweet in taste, sour is fine, and salty. Then there should be a consistently daily routine which has to be with like, you have to be in circadian. There should be a circadian rhythm for you because they're very erratic in their daily schedule. Their sleeping time will be different on some days. So you have to make a disciplined routine for yourself so that that consistency is there. So your sleeping time, waking up time should all be, every day should be same so that the vata is not off balance. Then for vata person, we always say there should be gentle exercises, not very strenuous exercises. So some people are really, if your vata person exercises too much, then they end up getting more sick also. So that is why gentle exercises are meant for them. Massages are one of the most important thing for a vata person because there's a lot of dryness in the system. They internally as well as externally, they're very dry. That is why self-abhyanga, it is very much indicated for a vata person. So every day before taking bath, maybe, rubbing your body with a oil massage, like sesame oil is a very TriDoshic oil and which is very good for vata again. So rubbing sesame oil or olive oil is also good in your body, on your body, and then taking a bath after some time, sitting in the sun if that is possible, then it will really help balance the vata. Then warming foods. Vata should never have cold foods. They should always have foods that are warm. Like, taking out of the fridge, eating out of the refrigerator, it will imbalance the vata. Because vata is like there's a lot of dryness and coldness in their system. So that is why you have to do everything that is opposite to that. So avoiding like very cold, windy, dry climates should be avoided, because they will generally inherently they will like to be warm. They will be better on heat. So that is the Vata person. So you know, avoiding, even if you're in a cold climate, keeping yourself warm properly. It's not that you can't go to a cold place, but if you're in that cold place, you have to understand, if you're a Vata person, then you have to keep yourself warm properly. You have to be hydrated, have warming foods, not anything like a cold drink or something like that. Should avoid that. And too much movement has to be avoided, because Vata is air and space, so there's already too much movement in them. And they would not prefer loud and noisy places. Even while they're eating, they would prefer that everything is like calm and quiet. They will get very irritated if there's a lot of noise and all. So, and enough sleep, because again their sleep schedule is very erratic, so they should have enough sleep. If you look at this routine can be followed by, like, you know, even kapha person also, in the sense like, if you see sleep is important from lifestyle perspective, you see sleep, hydration. But knowing this is like what Vata person, if you're a Vata person, you know that I have to avoid bitter, too much bitter, estrogen, spicy foods. So that becomes very important. You will not be, if you're a Vata person, if you eat a lot of spicy foods, you will feel that it makes you feel worse. And it will create more, it will increase, you'll become much more restless and agitated. So that is why it is important to have sweet, salty, and sour foods. Then in Pitta pacifying diet, the Pitta person should have sweet, bitter, and astringent foods. They should avoid sour, salty, and spicy, obviously, because there's already so much of fire. Even if you see some people, they say, if I add a lot of sour foods, I get very acidic. So that means that person is a Pitta person. So they need to avoid sour food. And some say, okay, I eat sour food, nothing happens. Like, I'm okay with a, you know, avla or a, you know, this orange. But some people, they don't feel. So you understand, okay, they have this Pitta imbalance in them. That is why they are not able to eat, like they're not feeling well. Then reduce salt, hot spices, and fried foods, because fried foods are again very drying. We may say that, okay, you have to have unctuous meals, but fried food like potato fried is very drying and toxic for the system. With French fries lovers who are there, it's in Ayurveda, it is totally contraindicated, because fried potatoes are very toxic for the system. Avoid alcohol and red meat, again because it creates a lot of heat in the system. Getting fresh air, fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, and whole grains, and keeping cool. Avoiding excessive heat or humidity is best for Pitta person. Then Kapha pacifying lifestyle is a Kapha person should have a diet which includes bitter, pungent, and astringent foods. So they should avoid sweet, salty, and sour foods in their diet, because it will increase kapha. That is why milk, when we say na, it increases kapha, because milk is sweet. That is why it needs to be avoided. So kapha, but when I say avoid, it doesn't mean they can't eat at all. It's that they should have everything. See, all the 6 tastes should be included in your meal. But then we have to know, okay, if it's a kapha person, if suppose we are having milk, then maybe we add a cinnamon to it, adding some spices. That spices are like actually powerhouses, you know, of our kitchen. Adding those balances, is they're like antidotes to our meals, and which helps us. So adding a lot of spices and all will balance it out. But the basic diet, you should have a lot of legumes. Like legumes are astringent. So adding legumes, more of legumes than other grains, will make a lot of sense to the diet. Then reduce fat intake, because they generally gain fat weight very easily. And anything cold like ice drinks again will make them worse, because it will increase dampness in their system. And sweets, reduce intake of water. So this is, everybody must be thinking that, you know, water is so important for us. Why she's saying that reduce intake of water? Because kapha is already water and earth. So they are prone to a lot of swelling and edema and all those kind of things. So they should drink water in sips throughout the day, and not like drinking water in, like, because you need to drink 8 to 10 glasses of water, so you're drinking too much water. That should be avoided for them. Then wake up early. So in according to Ayurveda, says a kapha person should wake up at 4:30. But I don't know how many of us would do that. But that is what is indicated for them, and they should not sleep during the day. Whereas for a Vata person, it is indicated that they should rest for at least half an hour or 1 hour during the day, so that their movement activity that is settled down and they feel much more calm. And for the Kapha person, exercise is very important. So they need to exercise, and they can do hardcore exercises as well. And they need to keep warm and dry. So these are the 3 lifestyles. Anybody has any questions regarding these? So this is the schedule that we have for each dosha. So wake up time for Vata is 6 a.m. For Pitta 5:30, and for Kapha it is 4:30 a.m. But 4:30 I'm doubtful anybody, but at least we should try to wake up before 6 a.m. because what happens during the Vata time when we wake up, then our elimination process is better, much better. And you would also observe it, like if even 10 minutes before 6, if you wake up, you'll have a better bowel movement than what you do post it. Just try it, and you will experience it yourself if you do that. And then their breakfast timings and lunch timings, which it may vary for everybody, but for supper, if you see, it's almost the same, like between 6 to 8. So that in nutrition science also we talk about it, that your meals, dinner should be between 6 to 8, because after that our digestive metabolism itself gets very slowed down, and we are not able to digest also the food very much. And sleeping time is around 10 to 11 again. And sleeping on, I really don't know why they say for a Vata person you should sleep on your back and on the right side or the left side, but this is what Ayurveda says, that if you're a Pitta person, you should sleep on your right side. If you're a Kapha person, you should sleep on your left side. And if you're a Vata person, you should sleep on your back. So this is what is the daily schedule for each dosha. So does anybody have any questions? Move forward, because this is the last slide. Okay, so we all being women, so I thought there should be one magical concoction or a powder we can all have without for our metabolism, for our health, hormonal health, and also I included the slide. So these all 6 herbs, they have all the taste in Ayurveda, that we talk about: sweet, shatavari, avla, that is the sour taste, rock salt, salty, ginger is pungent, and the barberry is called chitra in Hindi actually. It's Berberis vulgaris. Its scientific name is bitter, and haritiki is the astringent. Rock salt we can add as per our own taste, or some, like you can reduce the quantity, but all these herbs, if taken in equal quantities and mixed in a powder and taken half to 1 teaspoon daily, will really help in your metabolic health and balancing your hormones as well. So it is and it has no side effects as well. So it's a very wonderful mixture of herbs which can be taken by anybody, but not for pregnant ladies and or somebody with any other health issues like cancer and all. But for for healthy individuals, this is a very good herbal mix. So we should have we can have easily half to 1 teaspoon of it daily, any time of the day, and it really helps. So
where can we get it?
Actually, we have to make it. So this is a.
But the shatavari powder and all those things, you'll get.
Yeah, we get it easily in Ayurvedic shops. So we can just get it and we can mix it and just keep it.
Okay, okay.
So haritaki means turmeric?
No, not turmeric. That is haldi. Turmeric is haldi. Haritaki is harad.
Yeah. Got it.
So basically, ginger helps in digestion. This barberry, it will help in insulin resistance. Harad is again, in this hormonal health, and also this shatavari, in hormonal health. And harad is again for this digestion. And if your digestion is well, assimilation and all, I think most of the problems get solved in the system. Otherwise, if elimination, digestion is in proper state, then you're in good state of health.
Ginger is again in powder form?
Yes, salt.
Salt. Right.
So again, here, like how I've told you, like if suppose you feel that you're a pitta person, then you can reduce the quantity of ginger, but don't exclude it totally. If you feel that ginger doesn't work for your tumor, you can reduce the quantity, and you can, but in equal quantities, it doesn't harm. Like it is absolutely safe to have half teaspoon in the whole day. Ma'am, I think any other questions?
I actually do have, oh, I'm so happy you have your contact information. That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
How do we
Okay.
reach? But secondly, I actually have a question about that sleep chart you showed. And that is per our Ayurveda scriptures, right, from ancient times. Has there been any modern interpretation of what these gadgets and all these EMS and all these rays are doing to our system vis-a-vis
Ushwala,
that?
I'm sorry. Can you talk a little louder, because actually I'm not able to hear you.
Okay, so I have to come in, I guess. You put up a sleep chart, right? And it said, there was 4.5 hours of sleep for one category and 6 hours for the other, etc. So what my question is, that was based on our scriptures, what the Ayurveda scriptures say, correct? And that was in ancient times when we didn't have all this, these rays, magnetic rays, microwave rays, EMS rays, etc., from all these gadgets that we have today, and what it's doing to our sleep patterns, our body, things at a cellular level, etc. Is that, do you know of any recent research or any research done Ayurveda based on modern living, like even TV and the rays that TV emits and everything versus hours that we need to sleep? And I'm asking because there's a lovely book I read a while ago, and I just saw it on the bookshelf the other day. It's called Why We Sleep, and it's written by somebody, Matthew Walker, who's this neuroscience PhD sleep director, et cetera, at Berkeley, I think, I forget. And he said that we need about 7 hours of sleep these days to function, given what all is going on, unlike earlier days. And there was a whole theory built to it. And I'd be very curious to know if we have some similar research done in Ayurveda that you're aware of.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, see what happened with the 7 hours of sleep point now. Like if we look at, if you know about Sadhguru, have you heard of him?
Sure.
Jaggi Vasudevji. So he says that you should sleep only 4 hours a day, and he's doing well with it, and maybe his followers are doing well. So if you talk about research, honestly, I'm not aware of it, but the best way, to find out what is best for you, your body will tell you yourself, it's the best guide for you. You just have to listen to the cues of your system. Now, like when like you're a TriDoshic person, so what you can do is, like, I can't say, okay, you need to sleep these many hours, but what makes you more energetic when you wake up in the morning, is, I would always say, I always tell my clients and patients that please listen to your body. That is where you will get the most authentic information, what needs to be done. But because we always ignore the signals of our own body, we just see, okay, that is the whole point of, this workshop is also that, we should not go through by a fad, always follow, okay, intermittent fasting is for everyone, sleeping 7 hours to 8 hours is everyone. No, it is not like that. Whatever research says, I'm telling you honestly, what your body says is more important than some piece of paper. So if you feel energetic, energized with 4 hours of sleep, then it is meant for you. And if you don't feel energetic even after with 7-8 hours of sleep, that means there is something going on which you need to fix, whether it's the cortisol or another hormone or whatever issue it might be, So it needs a lot of deep understanding of your system. But obviously with the gadgets and all, there is some research which says that, no, in front of your TV, if you keep wheatgrass plant, that one that we grow in a you know, in Navratras that they grow with the wheat grass, then it absorbs a lot of radiation from the system. So those kind of things, if somebody wants to try, can do it. But we are with the phone all the time. I don't know, in keeping only one in front of the TV, how it's going to help. But you know, the whole point is that I'm not aware, honestly, of any research book, but there's these kind of researchers. Yes.
The question about the sleep hours is because it's well known that when we sleep, the beautiful
recovery,
recovery and the body system, that's the best, you know, hospital or whatever that is ever there for the system, for each body, and it works during our sleep. And that's why pranayama and meditation and all this helps, because this also enables and activates all of that.
What
expedites
I have realized in my practice is that if you sleep to 7, if you're not sleepy during the day, and you had a quality sleep, restful sleep is more important than the number of hours of sleep. You know, if you're sleeping for 6 to 7 hours, and that is deep sleep, then you'll be really refreshed. All that recovery of the muscles, everything, or detoxification process of the body, it gets enough time. But what happens with us is that the quality of sleep is missing with most of us today. So, and what is your activity throughout the day? If you're really sedentary, you will not get a deep sleep. And if you're really active, and so the whole day activity, everything, a lot of factors that go into, you know, how much sleep you need, what is the, you know, it is not like just you should sleep. I may ask somebody to sleep at 10 o'clock, but they say, I don't feel sleepy. How do I sleep?
What's your take on protein? Nowadays, it's like have more protein. What does Ayurveda say?
Yeah, so for protein intake, again, your body has the capacity to absorb only 25 to 30 grams of protein at a time. See, that is what, if you're having, so people who just take milk, this protein shakes immediately after workout, like a 40-50 grams, they're just having an expensive pee, because the body is going to throw away. It's not going to absorb that protein. So the body is not able to absorb more than 25 to 30 grams of protein in 1 meal. So your protein should be well distributed throughout the day. Again, if your digestion is weak, then you might not be able to absorb so much of protein. So you have to see how the person's, you know, what is the structure of the person, and how well the digestion, their bowel movements are there, and then we prescribe them, okay, have this much of protein in 1 meal. So, and it's always better to distribute the protein throughout the day instead of, you know, taking it in 1 or 2 meals, because the absorption is better and the digestion, because what happens if you eat extra protein, it just gets deposited as fat. It won't be actually, you know, going to your muscles or anything. So it doesn't make sense that way.
Sonal, can you just stop sharing the screen so we can see all of everyone? Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, you know, at least it's better to interact. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? Because it was wonderful, very insightful. Thank you so much, Sonal. And thank you all the participants for interacting, because then, you know, we help each other, isn't it? So as usual, Ujjwala bringing in unique questions, and others to giving their take on it. Yes, Sarita, you have something?
Yes, one quick question, ma'am. What about flax seeds, and how much quantity should be there? Flax seeds.
Flax seeds. Sonal is frozen, I guess. Let's wait for her to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sonal, so there was a question about flax seeds.
Okay, yeah. Flax seeds are, again, see, if suppose you're a Pitta Prakriti, then flax seeds are heating for the system. So it's better to have it soaked, and like a Kapha person can have it roasted, or a Vata person can also have it roasted. But adding flaxseed to the meal is a good for women's health. And
quantity?
Quantity, not more than 1 teaspoon.
More than?
And if you add it with sabja seeds, generally what I ask my clients to do is add sabja seeds along with flaxseed. they have a very good bowel movement. At night, they can just have it and sleep. And next morning, they have a very good bowel movement with it.
Talking about soaked flax seeds with sabja.
Sabja.
And together 1 teaspoon.
No, sabja seeds soaked 1 teaspoon because sabja seeds really swell up, that becomes too much. And flaxseed 1 teaspoon, and they can mix it and glass of water and drink it before sleeping. And even flaxseed
already
for hormonal health also.
Yeah. So it's already past 11:30. Anyone? Any last one question?
Ma'am, what does Ayurveda say to cut uric acid? Because once uric acid increases, then, a lot of vegetarian food is also minused and non-veg is also minused. So if there's any help in
for the disease part, Ayurveda, I won't be able to guide you. But yes, from nutrition science aspect, I can say uric acid is the person on metformin, because metformin also,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, so metformin leads to increase of E. coli, and that leads to increase in uric acid. So many times we always think that, uric acid, if you're eating non-vegetarian foods, then you get, high uric acid. But nowadays we are seeing even in vegetarian population, there's very high uric acid problems. So this is because one reason can be because of the metformin, and doctors don't actually accept it, but I have seen when we stop metformin and give them the other diabetes drug with other composition and get rid of the E. coli, then their uric acid comes down.
Thank you, ma'am, so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonal. Really.
And lemon water is good.
Subject.
If you're having uric acid issues, hydration is very important. To drink lots of water so that your system flushes out that uric acid, and adding one lemon juice completely throughout the day. That is a very good thing one can do for uric acid.
Amazing. Yeah. So there are so many answers to so many questions, right? So, and thank you, Sonal, so much for bringing in so many aspects, not only the food, and really, really very informative session. I'm so glad you were here. And all of you, I mean, she's too humble to say that, but her book, Ayurvedic Kitchen, which is just recently published. So if you are really interested in getting, so buy the book already. Yes, see, that's the book. Yes. Thank you so much, Sonal. And thank you all of you for being there, and just wait and watch. We are working for a wonderful workshop which is coming up again. Sonal also will be part of that workshop, and all of us are working on it because we have decided to take our quest of yoga applications in more of the wellness and lifestyle direction. Okay, of course you will be informed all the time of whatever is coming up. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.